Mr. Miller, Connie Mack just entered the race. What do you think about his candidacy? Why do you think he's in this race?
Well, I've heard that he plans to get into the race. There was an announcement made that came from one of his staff people that he intended to get in the race. It's another career politician from my perspective. I'm the only job creator, non-politician in this race. So for me, it doesn't change anything about our messaging. It doesn't change, as we move around the state and talk to people about solutions to America's problems. We have another career politician that's decided to enter the race. And so from our perspective, it doesn't change what we do at all.
Talk to me a little bit about Miller on Main. What does that I know you're going around taking odd jobs, I guess connecting with the regular American worker.
Right. Well, when you come out of the industry that I come from, and you come from Main Street, you understand the importance of making sure you stay connected to the American people. So this is an initiative. Clearly it's got some advantages in terms of getting my message out. But more importantly for me personally, it's to make sure that I stay connected with what's really going on Main Street. And I would encourage any elected official to spend some time, more time, talking to people that are working every day, that are small business owners. Find out why exactly their businesses are not as positive today as they were in the past, and what are the barriers that have been created by our federal government and local regulations in states that are impacting on their ability to expand and grow their business. So I move around the state twice a month. I do this. I was working at a Winn-Dixie recently up in Jacksonville. I'm going to be working up in Gainesville, with Santa Fe Community College next week. So it's not only interesting from the standpoint of getting my message out, but it's really a great learning experience for me.
Now, another candidate in the race, one of your competitors, former Senator George Lemieux. What do you think of his candidacy? He's come across a lot of, he's come under fire from his past. What can you speak to that about?
Well, I haven't known George very long. I've got to know him a little bit since I've gotten into this race. I'm not quite sure why politicians and career politicians seem to want to snipe at each other about some of the things that may have happened in the past. I say about the criticism that George receives, in terms of the fact that he worked for Charlie Crist is that he worked for Charlie Crist. He wasn't elected, to be Charlie Crist's chief of staff. Charlie picked him to do that job. So, I would rather talk about the issues and the solutions that I believe the people of Florida really are interested in talking about. So I don't get involved in that dialogue that's going on, and quite honestly, I don't quite understand why others would want to attack Republicans at this point. Let's focus on Bill Nelson, his 40-year miserable political career, and the things he has not done for the people of the state of Florida, and what we can do if we elect different kind of leaders.
Now, this whole movement around the country, Occupy wherever, what do you say about that? What would you say to these people or kids that are actually protesting? Well,
it reminds me a little bit of some of the things that took place in the '60s, but I think it really comes from a different place. As I have started focusing on some of the things that have been going on recently in our country, as I got more intensely involved in this race, I have come up with some ideas and suggestions of kind of how we got where we are and the things that need to change. And in some ways, in a business, and particularly in a restaurant, those of you who have ever been in the service business, culture is very important. And I think we've actually created a culture of dependency here in America. The culture comes from being dependent on foreign oil. The culture comes from being dependent on foreign debt. And the culture comes from being dependent on unemployment insurance and other things. And I think we've got a whole generation of young people now that find themselves in a situation where their expectations of what was going to happen when they got out of college or when they took on a large amount of debt, was going to be X. And what they're finding out is that, listen, I may have to go get a real job. I may have to do something a little bit different than what I was educated to do. So, I made a comment the other day because somebody asked me if I had to advise these young people. I would say, just literally, get up and go out and find a job. Get yourself in the workforce. I entered the workforce at a very early age, at the age of 13, and you learn from being in the process that the harder you work, the more opportunities you find, and the better you can progress. And so many of these young people, unfortunately, have never had a real job. Many of these people have not actually been in the workforce. And so I say to them, get up, get out, and get a job, because I think that's where they will find that the opportunities are really there.